Hello everybody and welcome back to the Chassis Variant series. We're back with the Inner Sphere this week as the release of the Thanatos dictated so. We'll be back to the clans next week as regular viewage. So, obviously I've already covered a bunch of stuff with the Thanatos in Lore Warriors and the original gameplay video about its background, but a brief recap is that it was a mech that was designed after the clan invasion, based on the Thor from the clan side of things. With the idea of having a 75-ton mech that was capable of using jump jets, it could shield itself with ECM, and it had a relatively similar weapons profile to the Thor in its role on the battlefield. Now, Starcorps Engineering originally built the Thanatos as an omnimech, and they had the intent of selling this to the armed forces of the Federated Commonwealth, and the Lyran Alliance Armed Forces, or House Steiner and House Davian. However, it didn't work out this way for them, as neither side were interested, having already bought a whole bunch of Inner Sphere omnimechs at the time. So, with time running out for their license, Starcorps very quickly went back and redesigned it as a standard battlemech, which both houses were happy to accept. And as such, that's why the Thanatos is just a battlemech and not an omnimech. Even though technically you could say there are still plans out there for one, it just never got built. Or at least not in particularly large numbers. So, the Thanatos was relatively popular because it was cheaper for that reason, and yeah, it's pretty decent for its weight. Although, one of the things to keep in mind is that it's actually relatively under-armoured compared to other 75-ton mechs available to the Inner Sphere, and that includes some of the older designs, things like Marauders and such. But it does make up for it with its manoeuvrability, its speed, which carrying an XL375 means it can run at 81 kph, which is pretty bloody fast for a heavy. And it also has things like ECM suite, and normally it has C3 slave, but with the way MechWarrior targeting works, it's not really something that would ever work in MechWarrior Online. As C3 Lancers are meant to, they all share the system. There's a master unit, and the other mechs are the C3 slaves, and they all share targeting data between each other. On the tabletop, it made it easier to make you to hit rolls and stuff because everyone was sharing the same targeting information. But in MechWarrior that happens anyway, so yeah. Anyway, now anyone who's watched the original gameplay video, I was playing the 4P. And the problem with the 4P is that it's the closest thing to one of the other variants that's supposed to be canon, which is the model that's supposed to have an LB20. Unfortunately, you can't fit an Inner Sphere LB20 in an ARM because they don't allow side torso splitting. Well, that was one of the ways around one of the limitations, so they would they would have some of the critical points in the side torso and the rest in the arm. Obviously there's a few solutions to this, but whether PGI ever get to it, I don't know. I took that one out in the other videos and the Lore Warrior one, but this is the 4S, which is the original Thanatos, which I wanted to say for the chassis video. And obviously it's a bit of a departure, as it only has 4 energy hardpoints and 2 missile, compared to a majority of the other variants that carry at least 1 ballistics hardpoint. This one is pretty direct. The build is quite all-round, I guess you could say. It has an ER large, 2 ER medium, medium pulse, and an MRM-20, and it's a pretty good setup of weaponry. It has a nice profile, and you don't overheat in it either. It's got 16 double heat sinks as standard, so it can do quite a lot with what it's got before it's sort of overheating itself too quickly. I was lucky, obviously, here to be on a cold map. In a pretty nasty fight, I have to admit. This one went back and forth quite a bit, and obviously being it's one of the new mechs, you do come across quite a few Thanatos knocking about at the moment, which for some people will be a dream, because Thanatos do have particularly large side torsos, and if you're like me and you're still running the XL, that's an easy kill. However, if used correctly, even with the XL engine, it's relatively nasty heavy. I was using it in a support role for most of it. I was trying to keep the 2 assaults in my lance covered, knowing that they would be the ones who would be able to do more damage and I could support them, which goes against the ethos of the Thanatos, because in the world of Battletech, the Thanatos is actually meant to bring the fight to the enemy, and one of the reasons it could do that is because on tabletop your to-hit rolls are usually random locations, so side torso death wasn't really as big a deal as it is in MechWarrior Online, because pinpoint accuracy allows you to target those kind of weak spots on a mech. And in some respects it's also made XL engines somewhat of a death trap for inner mechs, or an undesirable element on certain mechs, even though XL engines would obviously produce way better results. Personally, I tend to find it seems to be based on the kind of match you're having more so. But I do really like the Thanatos, and if you haven't bought it for real monies, I wouldn't worry too much. It will be worth it on the C-bills. It might even have some hitbox changes by that time, I don't know. I don't think there's a particularly large call for that, but it might happen. Also, hitbox changes generally do come along further down the line when they get to the mech credit phase of the sales and stuff, when PGI want to pick up a bit of extra cash off a mech that's you know, past the sort of early bonus for pre-orders and stuff. So yeah, I would recommend the Thanatos. It's at 75 ton. It's relatively nice to modify. It's simple to use. Nice spread of equipment and hardpoints. Every mech comes with jump jets. The 4S has a max engine rating of 400. It's the fastest of them. So if you want to put in like a light Fusion 400, then go for it. But that was that round. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is the only one we're doing because it's the only canon variant. And yeah, I'll see you next time. So have a good week, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.